And we are live. Thank God we are live. Had some hardware issues trying to untangle a long Ethernet cable. Finally got it untangled, plugged in. We are live now. We got juice here at Between the Slicks. We fired the motor here on the most diverse drag racing talk show that there is. A bit of no prep talk tonight, a bit of NHRA funny car nitro talk tonight, right here Between the Slicks. We have got it all. Hey, by the way, let me go ahead and clue you in that next week, I actually got some guests already lined up, and I know who they are. Imagine that. Wow, I've been on the ball here lately. We're going to have Kyle Wurtzel on, NHRA Top Fuel, as well as the Super Stock champion of the Southeast Gasser Association. Shout out to the Southeast Gasser Association. Definitely appreciate Quain's cooperation in allowing his champions to come on the show Between the Slicks and tell the world about what it's like driving in the Southeast Gasser Association. A lot going on in the world of drag racing. We've got testing happening in Florida for a big door car race down there. Definitely looking forward to the news after this weekend of who the winners and who the non-winners were at that event. I'm definitely keeping my eye on Mark Caruso. They've got a brand new hot rod. He is in that car, back in it for the event down there in Florida. Looking forward to what he is going to be able to do. Eye definitely on Stevie Fast Jackson. What will he be able to do firing off in 2021? But tonight, we're going to be talking some no prep Mid-Atlantic Street Outlaws with their promoter, Duane Morris. And we're going to bring him on right after this video clip so you've got a better idea of what cars we're talking about and what this outfit is all about. Duane, man, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
Man, I am doing wonderful. Great to be talking about drag racing and, in particular, the brand of drag racing that you are involved with and that you've got going on with the Mid-Atlantic Street Outlaws. So let's begin with this. Just show the folks some of the examples of the outfit, the cars you've got running in the outfit. So explain to me Mid-Atlantic Street Outlaws. What type of cars, what type of racing are we looking at as drag racing fans?
Well, we have quite a diversity of cars. Primarily, we try to mix it up. We'll leave the camera there. We try to mix it up between big tire and small tire. Small tire around this area, it's a 28 by 10.5, no W's. It varies in other places, but that's standard we go by around here. We try to stick to as much as a street car as possible, but to stay out in front, I mean, it's getting real high tech and it's getting tricky. So sticking to 100% real street car, that's hard to do anymore. I believe I didn't even get to go through and count up. I believe we're up to 52 members in our group right now. I've been told that we have the largest street car group that does no prep on the entire East Coast. I can't deny that nor verify that. We just, we're a group of guys. We started this deal. We got it together early 2015, and we really struck it off 2016. We started as a race series on prep tracks, and we shied away from that because you go to prep track, money always wins. You take it to no prep, you got big horsepower, you don't have a chance to win. I mean, everybody has a chance to win, but it's about less is more. We've been very successful. We were very blessed last year. We won a lot of races. Had just a phenomenal time.
It's definitely, your group has had a upward trajectory for a while now. I've been able to experience the group firsthand at your, at least I've been able to experience two of the Just Send It No Prep events. Both events were stellar, great events, a lot of great cars. Footage from both of those events in that short little clip that I showed. You can see the rest on YouTube, folks, at Monday Morning Racer. So, as Destroyer 1320 says here, no prep is the future. Why has there been this rise in no prep in the drag racing world? And you're seeing people now go to the shutdowns of some of these drag strips and going the other direction. Why is there this rise in popularity, you think, being in drag racing as long as you have, to the no prep scene?
Well, like I said, you take it to a prep track, you try to set rules to get everybody on the level playing field. At the level that we're doing this stuff, you can't go to the level like NHRA Pro Stock or any of the classes like that. We simply don't have the manpower nor the technology to enforce all these rules on the same day and run in one day. You just can't do it. We've tried. Trust me, you can't do it. So you get where the big horsepower, the big money cars, they're running away from everybody. With the no prep, of course, everyone prefers the street. Cops are breaking down. We can't afford to lose our license. As fast as the cars are going now, the street's getting pretty dangerous. I'm sure you've seen it all over YouTube and Facebook. The back of the track, it's more of a controlled environment. You don't have to worry about the police. You have places to park. I mean, try to find a street where you can park, 30, 40 tractor trailers. I say tractor trailers, seems like everyone's getting stackers and toters now. But you just pick up trucks and trailers, try to park 40 of those along the road somewhere and have a cash day. You're going to get caught. There are places you can do it, but it's getting less and less nowadays. So the back of the track's hot. You go to the back of the track, there's no glue, there's no prep. It's old, porous asphalt. It's very, very tricky to get your car to hook and go fast. People watch the stuff on TV. They think, man, these guys are running, 390s. Okay, on the out in the Midwest, on the concrete, yeah, that definitely. Around here with the asphalt, no one's going 390s. So the less is more. There's a certain number of horsepower you got to have. If you have too much, you just blow the tires off. You don't go forward in the momentum you need to go in. So it evens the playing field, and it's gotten so hot. We went to Dig or Die down in North Carolina back in December. $300 buy-in. I think it was 124 cars. It's $30,500. We were blessed. We were very blessed. Every one of our cars made it through first round with success. Two of my cars got into the finals. The one guy that actually won the race, the week before this, he was ready to sell his car. He needed back surgery. He was in a bad place, and he took a chance. He won $30,500. So, where can you go in one day at any track and make $30,500?
Right, definitely the money right now. Even at your events, I was impressed. I'm like, man, there's a lot of money stuffed in that victory helmet at the end of the race, and yeah, you see the controversy in the NHRA with the payouts, and then hey, someone's winning $30,000 at a no prep event on the wrong side of the drag strip, so to speak. So it's very interesting how popular it's grown and the influence that is in it now. With the change in the air in drag racing on the scene, have you seen facilities like embrace what is happening, or is there even a reluctant attitude to going to the shutdown area, or has people been more than welcoming? What's been the attitude from promoters and facility owners and individuals that have been in the game for a long time but different?
Well, I'll tell you personally, as I run the group, I promote, I do it all. I do a lot. And when I say I, it's not just me. We have a team. I have Dave McMeans. He's been my right hand man since day one. Paul Perkey, Andrew Nelson. We have a whole bunch of guys that put this together, just not me. So we've been pursuing different streets to close down. We've been after airports. We've been after the back of the tracks. And the biggest problem we run into is a liability issue with the insurance companies. A few years back, I actually rented the top end of a track, and I had to rent it. I had to pay the insurance, and trust me, it wasn't cheap. We had fun, but after that, the track got a little bit of grief from the insurance company. So, excuse me, that makes it kind of tough on that. Um, Down south, it's getting really hot. I mean, you have Corey Stamper down there with Darlington now. They got the back of the Darlington. They've already got 2 races. The very first one is February 27th. I believe it was 22 minutes, and they filled all of small tire in 22 minutes. They're selling out in record number of times. Dig or Die, that's in March. That's sold out super fast. It's that I don't want to say it's impossible, but up here in Pennsylvania, Maryland area, I've reached out to a lot of tracks, and it seems to be the insurance companies are the problem. It's not that they don't want to do it. There's just too much liability. They see the YouTube and Facebook videos of everybody crashing, and they think it's a demolition derby and not a race. Everybody's really starting to figure this game out. So it's not slip and slide and crash and roll like it used to be. And in the early beginning of the new era of street racing and no prep racing, yeah, it was very dangerous, but everyone's starting to get a grip on it now. So I think once we find a way around these insurance companies and get more permission, I mean, it's a hot thing right now. The airport in West Virginia, Berkeley Springs, that's a hot spot right now. It's nothing to see 3,000-4,000 spectators out there. I mean, this is what people want to see. It's no offense to bracket racing, but you go to a bracket race, if you don't understand it, it's like watching chrome rust. You go out to a no prep race, you know you're going to see tires spinning, backfires, hood flying off, people spinning around circles. It's action. People want to see that. So that's definitely the hot ticket right now.
Sure is. It is on the rise. Now, there's a lot of sides to this. There's the side like the Just Send It No Prep and the event you've got at Beaver Springs and the back of the drag strip on the shutdowns. And then there is the TV side of things. Now, you and your group, y'all have been on TV with Discovery Channel before. So, yeah, clue folks in. What's it like being under the bright lights of production lights on Discovery Channel?
Well, I'll tell you, when we first got the invite, we were all crazy excited. I had to find 14 cars, and I had to convince people, hey, it's okay to drive halfway across the United States, and we're going to go out there and be on TV. And then we got to realize, hey, we got to get cars that are serious that we just don't want to go out and be on TV. We want to beat these guys, you know? So trying to find people that's willing to commit to driving halfway across the United States, being out there for a week. You know, we walked into this deal blind. Not too many of the teams that went before us shared a whole lot of information. It's kind of one of those things where, hey, I struggled, so you're going to have to struggle and figure it out too. Again, I can't verify this, but I've been told that our group probably had more test hits on that street before filming than any other group. And I can verify that we had 64 test hits on the street before we filmed. We did not sleep. For 3 days straight, we tested. So trying to find the 14 cars sounds real easy. It's a very hard feat. So we get out there, and every day we had team meetings. We're trying to strategize who's going to run who. And, you know, it's hard because me not racing, I mean, I have raced in the past, but not actively right now. So for me to look in and see, okay, this car matches this car, I kind of got the matchups in my head, but you talk to the guys and you get starstruck really fast. And it's like, I want to run this guy because I know I'm going to be on TV. Going into it, you're pretty much told that at least 3 of your cars are not going to make the show. They don't put everybody on there. So once you let the guys know that, everybody wants to race the cars they know is going to be on TV. It makes it a little tough. actually being out there, it was just full adrenaline. It was very cool, and I can verify right now. There's nothing when we went out there. Nothing was staged. Nothing was set up. You're not instructed what to do. We did our negotiations. We shook hands. We got our racks of cash out. We started filming. I think it was right around 6 p.m. We wrapped everything up at 6:05 in the morning. And I tell you, the whole night it seemed like 3 hours. It was just full adrenaline. It was over with. I'm very proud of the team we took out there. Season 3, our team got more wins than any other team on season 3. So very, very proud about that. And I'm going to tell you right now, these people watch the TV show and never been out there. Those cars are very fast. And that was 2018. We went out and filmed, and here we are how many years later, and they've really stepped it up. So we were kind of fortunate to go out when we did.
All right. Well, Duane, we're going to take a break. We'll come right back, dive into a little bit more. Folks, we do got Jeff Arend in studio, and he will be our second guest for the night. This word from Power Built Tools. Power Built Tools exemplifies innovation in the tool industry. From hand tools, power tools, and even tool storage. Check out powerbuilt.com for Power Built Tools. And remember, use promo code MMR15 for 15% off at purchase. Well, as Sledgehammer Motorsports mentions here from YouTube, the wrecks are real, the racing is real. And I know from being at least one of your events, the first one I was at, the wrecks are real. One guy barrel rode like 5 times in some, earlier generation Camaro, and I didn't actually capture it on film. I explained that on one of my videos, but talk to me. That was at Beaver Springs Dragway. Talk to me about the relationship with Mike McCracken, Beaver Springs Dragway. Everything I see, he continues to keep improving the place. So what's the update from there?
Well, Lee, I'm real glad that you went there, because I actually wanted to give a shout out. Mike and his son Mikey McCracken, between a 1 and a 10, man, I got to give them at least a 50, if not a 60. They're just the nicest track owners that you could ever imagine meeting. You can vouch for that yourself. You've been there. They do a great job of maintaining the track, the facility. They go around, they introduce himself to all the racers. Anybody needs anything, he will stop what he's doing and make sure everybody is pointing the right direction. Easy to work with, easy to get along with. Super, super great crew, the whole crew there. We actually have a race plan there for June 14th. It's kind of a rematch with Ohio Valley Street Outlaws. We had them out there last year, had a great time. Mike was very easy to get along with. Kind of gave us the track for the day, let us do our thing. There are some things being worked on I can't really mention right now, but stay tuned for that. Anybody can go to their website, Beaver Springs Dragway. They have a Facebook page. They have a lot of real cool events. It's just, we're the only ones to do the no prep there. They have a lot of cool, if you're into nostalgia stuff, all Ford events, jet cars, they have all kinds of stuff there. Really cool stuff. If you don't mind, you mentioned my racer rolled over last year, actually 2 years ago, Eric Vandrew. Another shout out I'd like to give here quick is, of course, you can see on my shirt here, RaceQuip. RaceQuip has been one of our primary sponsors for a very long time. Can't thank those guys enough. Thanks to them, when Eric Vandrew rolled that car over, and that was a nasty, nasty crash. You were there, seeing the aftermath. I was scared to death for him. I'm not a very religious person, and I was saying a lot of prayers for that guy. It was bad. He was the first one that said if it weren't for those RaceQuip belts and his RaceQuip safety equipment, he may not have walked away from that one. You can ask any of my racers. I'm very adamant on safety. We do a lot of stupid stuff in the public's eyes, but I make sure that I can do my part, and race quit partners with us. We make sure our racers are safe.
And of it, especially of your gang, at least that I've seen, it is safe. It is ran professionally. It is not just a fly-by-night type of operation. It's legit for sure. And of your racers, like who right now? Give me the top three in their cars and what they're capable of doing. I mean, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but the guy with that blue Oldsmobile, the 442, I believe it is. I mean, that is a wild, wicked car. Love that thing.
It's super hard for me to put the top three in there. Bill Marks. Bill Marks has a 70 Olds 442. Bill is an awesome guy. Anybody stops by, talks to that guy, he'll talk to you like he's known you for 30 years. Super, super nice guy. Awesome car. And I wouldn't suggest you touch his car, but it is steel roof and quarter. It's very close to a legit street car. It is a steel roof and quarter. It's a heavy car. It gets down. When we went to Memphis, he was actually one of our big wins down there. He called out Brian Britt for $2,000, and that's a stick shift car too. He ran out of Brian Britt's life. We collected on that one. Man, the top guys, I mean, I don't even know where to go with that. I mean, stepping back last year, Bobby Parks won a lot of big races, built his whole entire car himself. Very smart, knowledgeable guy, very good racer. Richie Stein. Richie Stein's been one of the OG guys from the very beginning. He has been up in the top of a lot of these big events. He actually got the runner up at Dig or Die. And we just have so much talent. I am very blessed to have a lot of these guys on this team. Like I said, we formed this in 2015, so it's not like we waited. I mean, we were established before Memphis even came on TV. So it's not like we just decided we want to be one of the cool guys and say we want something Street Outlaws. I mean, yeah, we kind of followed the thing through the 405, but we've been around for a while. We've got some really, really good, talented drivers, mechanics, car builders, engine builders, you name it. It's just I could rattle on for 4 hours about this. I love every one of these guys.
So, Duane, in the no prep scene right now, as far as I understand, there's not like a series championship where there's an overall champion declared. It's these individual promoted races, and people are going to them and battling it out and duking it out and building their rapport of like who's got the baddest no prep car around. So what are like the crown jewel events right now for no prep? What are the events that if someone's going to make a name for themselves in no prep racing, that's where they got to go, and that's where they need to do it and show everybody?
Well, like I said, there's a lot of stuff popping up this year. I mean, a lot of stuff, but hands down, in my eyes, Dig or Die, that's the back of Rockingham Dragway in North Carolina. Eric Hunt, Zenford, those guys put on a very well put together no prep race. They started out at a different track. They've been doing it, 2 years now. And I mean, I refer to it as the Super Bowl of no prep. They have actually got something planned for July. They're going to have $100,000 no prep race, small tire only, $100,000. So that's a winner take all, no split, you don't get payouts down to sixth place, or there's no participation ribbons or trophies. It's winner takes all. It's $100,000. I believe it's another $28,000 or $30,000 in March. So that's definitely the big one. Corey Stamper's really stepped up with Darlington. That's a big one to go to. There's a lot of new stuff popping up. Another big one, May 15th at the airport in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia. They shut the airport down and they race on the airport. Limpy Collins, which a lot of people know, he's out of Texas. He's been flagging the races for the 405 for many years. He's hosting a race out there. That's $1,000 buy-in, but that's another $100,000 race. So, I mean, a guy played his cards right this year. With all the no prep races that are popping up, you could definitely be a millionaire by the end of summer.
Yeah, some of these guys, with the way they win, they have to find another tax account and figure out where to allocate everything to not hurt themselves come tax time for sure. Well, it's exciting to see the no prep scene rising, and I'm definitely an individual that's more interested in the things off of TV. I'm far more interested in like your events, the Just Send It, the thaw outs happening at Darlington, which I do plan on being there. Hopefully catch Rockingham sometime this year. I'm in those neck of the woods now, being in North Carolina. So specifically for the Mid-Atlantic Street Outlaws, Just Send It, is it going to be happening again this year? What type of events do you plan on having? 2, 3? What's the number?
Because of all the no prep races that have popped up this year, and I mean, we are solidly booked from February all the way up to July. We are booked solid. I mean, solid. June 12th, I am hosting a Just Send It no prep race at Beaver Springs Dragway. We are, as right now, we are planning on doing a big tire class, a small tire class, and we're going to do a daily driver class, all motor. We did that last year. It gives the little guy with a lower budget a place to go race. It worked out really well last year. I'm trying to do it to where I can include everybody from the low budget guy all the way to the high dollar guys. Try to give it something for everybody, nonstop action all day long. So I'm just planning the one race for this year. There is a possibility of something else coming up at the end of the year, but I can't really talk about that yet. So we'll have to just keep an eye on the Just Send It page.
All right, we'll keep an eye out right there, man. Last thing from you, you're a promoter. If someone has not seen a no prep race in person, you sell it, man. Tell them, why should they see a no prep race in person?
Well, it's pretty easy. It's nonstop excitement. It is almost impossible to go to a no prep race right now and not see somebody that's been on TV. If that's the thing you're into, is seeing these TV stars. We don't categorize ourselves as that, but we've been on TV. We just kind of let it go, but it's nonstop excitement. It's you see cars unexpectedly do giant wheel stands. There's nitrous backfires. They blow up engines, spin around, blow tires off. You just see the most bizarre stuff. And I've kind of compared it to, you go to a Sunday bracket race and there's not too many people in the stands, but you go to a dirt track on a Saturday night and it's packed. Why? Because people want to see action. And you come to a no prep race, you're going to see nonstop action. They don't have grandstands because nobody wants to sit down. It's just nonstop excitement.
I like that. The dirt of drag racing. I kind of like that. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, it's definitely here in the Carolinas, you go to a local dirt track and they are slammed. They are packed. Looking forward to going to a local dirt track this weekend, actually, to do some filming. Yes, folks, the YouTube channel for Monday Morning Racer does have more than drag racing, though it's my niche. Duane, man, look, good seeing you. Good catching up. Been a while. Hopefully get up to Beaver Springs this year. Didn't happen for me last year because of COVID. Hopefully that works out and able to get up there. Would love to see you guys and Mike and all of everybody there at that great facility. Folks, check out Beaver Springs Dragway if you ever get a chance. It is this gem of a dragway out in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania. So, Duane, thank you, man.
Hey, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's an honor.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
Yes, sir. You too.
Folks, go check out Mid-Atlantic Street Outlaws, Facebook, Instagram. Check the web, see what's going on. You want to see these guys race. Duane has got a professional outfit. Check out Beaver Springs Dragway as well. If you've never been, it's one of the great drag strips, small drag strips in the country. Thoroughly love the folks at Beaver Springs Dragway and the facility. Well, folks, next guest, Jeff Arend, NHRA funny car, NHRA driver, NHRA crewman. I mean, Jeff's done it all. He's done it all. He sent me his bio, and I read over it. He's done it all, folks. He definitely has. He's a partner with me on the Competition Plus Power Hour. He's our pit insider. Let me give you this little bit of footage, and we're going to have Jeff on right after. You see this footage from the last time in which he was in the car. I believe it was the last time. He can correct me if I'm wrong.
Get close. Got up on the line down there in the shutdown area.
Get close. Well, I'm following now. Jeff, man, how's it going tonight?
Good. How about yourself?
Man, I'm doing great. Talked a little no prep action. I love the no prep scene as well. Love anything in drag racing, honestly, except for those people on those pesky delay boxes. I can't stand now. I don't know about you, but I can't stand it. But Jeff, yeah, was that the last time you were in the car? Pomona 2019 or 2019 finals. That would be the last time, right?
That was the last time I raced in competition besides the nostalgia car, so big show stuff last time in competition. Yep.
Bingo, bingo. Well, hey, man, look, you mentioned it. Dive into that nostalgia scene you've been working in a lot here recently. You've had a lot of success, too. So update some folks that might not follow the nostalgia scene that is so vibrant out there on the West Coast.
I really had a good time driving. I got a call from Ronnie Swearingen, I guess it was back towards the end of 2017, and he asked if I wanted to drive the nostalgia car, and my standard answer is like, I don't know. Like, I didn't really know a whole bunch about that racing or that car. Obviously, Ronnie's he's like a guy who's really, really good crew chief, good credentials and everything. So finally, we came to a little agreement. I went down there to test it, and I was amazed. I mean, it's a beautiful car, and then the whole truck and trailer setup. If there was like a DSR or Coletta of nostalgia racing, that was it. Everything was in its place, super clean, really organized, and the car was really fast. So. They had been running for a few years before I got there with a few different drivers and never won a race, even though it was probably one of the cars that should have been winning races. And for whatever reason, they just never got one. And I remember going to the first race with them. It was like the Barch meet, and we qualified, I don't know, like number 3 or something. And we had to race, guy obviously wasn't as quick. And our car slowed down a little bit. And the guy I was racing had like a 16 light, which is kind of unheard of. And of course, I got beat on a whole shot. So there was my welcome to nostalgia funny car racing, but we made up for it the next race, went to Boise and ended up winning the race. It was the team's first race, the owner's first race, and that was really cool. So all good things come to an end. So at the end of last year, or probably middle of last year, Ronnie wasn't going to be with the team anymore. So the team owner decided to go in a new direction. And so I got no ride again, but it was really a fun few years, really competitive, lots of fun, great people racing, and it was a lot of fun.
I imagine it was. Those cars are just cool, man. They're just cool. They're bringing, really a big show type of feel with those old bodies, and it's, running around California in kind of the not Midwest, but you're just getting into the West section of the United States, and it's definitely a cool scene what's going on, and obviously March Meet. That's one of the most historic drag races there is, period. So being involved with that and things of that nature. Looking over your bio, and I usually don't get to work with anybody sending me a bio, so thanks, Jeff. I really appreciate that. It helped me out a lot, and I saw some things going through it, and like I've got to ask, dude. You mentioned you drove or worked with Al Hoffman, so you drove for Al? Is that right?
Yeah, that was a really long time ago, actually. I think 1997. And my wife and I ended up going to, it was Dallas or Houston, I can't remember, probably Houston, just to go watch, and I think Al had hurt himself. He'd had that accident in Gainesville and was pretty beat up. And I remember getting to the airport, and I think I saw Dell there, and he goes, "Hey, I hear you're driving Hoffman's car this weekend." And I went, "Huh? I haven't heard that one yet." And lo and behold, got to the track, and a few people said go over there and talk to him, and I ended up driving his car for a few races. It was definitely more of a challenge than the Paul Smith car was to drive. But it was fun. I think we qualified number 2 at Rockingham. And we got to race for Al Hoffman for three races or so. Got to stay at his house, which was pretty exciting. He had some cool toys back then, big shop, nice house. And Al's one of a kind, he's for sure. And we all miss him.
Yeah, just Al. There's John Force, and then like the alter ego black hat of it was Al Hoffman. I love the dynamic between him and Force. Al was one of the few that would yak right back to Force. So now I'm trying to connect some dots. When you were there, was Jimbo there too? That's now with Terry Haddock, or was that later on? What's the connection?
Yeah, so Tom Anderson was there the year before, and that's when Jimbo was working for him, was in '97, because I think we raced against Al for sure in '90. I think it was '96, and Tom Anderson was still there, and then he left. And I remember when I drove the car for sure, Jimbo was working there, no doubt about that.
All right. Now, you mentioned in opening up about driving that it was more difficult than the Paul Smith car. So take us in the cockpit, Jeff. What do you mean by that? What was difficult? I mean, was it the layout of, handles and things of that nature, or did it just drive that different?
Yeah, not so much the layout, but it was definitely a more high horsepower car than Paul Smith. He also wore more clutch, etc. And it was also kind of an unproven chassis. And I just had a tough time with it. There was a lot of clutch dust coming in the car, and like one of those deals you would tell them, they'd go, come on, it's always been like that. And we found some things out later on to see kind of why it was that way. And long story short, it's one of those lessons you learn in life that, not that I didn't have fun driving it, but if you don't like something as a driver, just fix it. And if they won't fix it, it's be over it, And in the end, like I said, it ran okay. It said we qualified number 2 at Rockingham. Is a good running car, but if I would have known now, back then, I definitely would have made some changes to it and made it better. And I think Corley drove it after me, and he said to me the same thing. He goes, I couldn't even see. I got lucky I didn't cross the center line. And so one of those deals, So live and learn.
What is it like today? I mean, I can remember the in-car footage from the from the 90s, early 90s, late 90s, when they definitely had in-car footage. It's so rare now for whatever reason. But yeah, you would see this huge amount of clutch dust in front of funny car drivers. Is it still the same? Have y'all figured out a way to eliminate that, or, at least lessen it? What's it like today?
It's way better now than it used to be. And there's definitely a few things you can do. There's a pretty big clutch tube on them. Some guys even have like a little turbine deal to blow, so kind of suck the clutch dust out of there. But probably the biggest thing is the car's sealed up a lot better. The can itself is sealed up a lot better. People usually tape over the inspection covers, but there's this really cool deal. I think Dennis Taylor makes it, but it's like a little blanket, and it hooks over the bell housing, and it kind of sits underneath the go around, and it goes back to the reverser, and it basically deflects everything down. So while there's still some dust coming in the car, it's like maybe 15 or 20% of what it used to be. I mean, there were times back in the day where you really couldn't see anything. It was pretty crazy. So they've definitely fixed that up a whole bunch. Right.
Yeah, I've noticed. I'm like, man, these white fire suits stay white longer than they used to. I mean, I remember, like Al's. I was watching the 95 finals at Pomona, and Al's suit is just, you can't even hardly tell it's got Western Auto or Haviland on it anywhere. It was just like, I mean, it was a black suit, but everything was black. It was amazing. And now they last a lot longer. At least that cuts down on the dry cleaning for that part. That's awesome. That's stellar.
No doubt about that. No, it's a lot better.
Awesome. Well, look, we got Tammy Powers chiming in saying hello, Jeff. And I'll go ahead and put this to you. Chris Ramos asked, any plans for this season, Jeff? Now, look, Jeff, I know the highlight of your week is Competition Plus Power Hour, and you've definitely got to keep coming on for that. So that's pinned in for every Tuesday night. But yeah, what's 2021 looking like as of right now? I'm sure we've got plenty of changes ahead of us.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, I'm probably going to go help Jim Dunn out at Gainesville to start off the year, probably Gainesville and Atlanta, and we'll see how it goes from there. Kind of helped them quite a bit last year, and I've known them for a long time. Their shop's pretty close to my house, and I enjoy working with Big Jim. I drove for him for a couple of years, and they're just a nice family, and it's just kind of nice to stay out there, get your name out there a little bit to some of your buddies. And, finally got that car running a little bit better towards the end of the year. Pretty big effort among a lot of key people, but it's definitely getting better there. Not much plans to drive right now. I don't think Helen and Peter Russo, I think they're still stuck over in Australia jail. So while their car's over here in California, they can't get down here. So if something happens and it gets better, I'm sure we'll do a couple races at the end of the year. And as far as the rest of it goes, nothing really solid right now.
Gotcha, man. Look, please, for everybody watching, for anybody that may see this later on, dive in on that dynamic of Peter and Helen Russo, because Man, I really feel like the NHRA hasn't done a good job of really telling their story. I mean, they're in Australia, which they can't come over right now because of COVID, but they come over to do nitromethane drag racing. When I heard about it, when Mikey told me about it, when I was going to Pomona that year in 2019, he's like, "Oh, you got the group. This is a story, man." And it is. And it's like, I feel like I'm like one of the few guys that's got it out there. So please explain to the people how crazy Peter and Helen Russo really are.
Well, they're definitely crazy, that's for sure, but super nice people. And I didn't go back a whole bunch in their career, but I know they were pretty famous racing back in Australia, had nitro cars, and Peter used to drive it. And the way I kind of got hooked up with them was they had run here for a little while, maybe like 2 or 3 years before I met them, without really a whole bunch of success. And they got Paul Smith to give them a hand, and Paul gave me a call because, Paul's in Florida and I'm in California, and the car was like half an hour from me. He goes, "Hey, go out there and see what they got," and, kind of tell me. So I went out there and kind of told him, here, they got this clutch management, this pump, this injector, etc., this clutch. And he said, "Okay, well, we'll go give him a hand." And originally, I think the plan was just for me to test on a Monday after the national event and just make sure the car is okay, and then get Peter in it and start running again. And remember, we tested and made the first run. I shut it off at like 300 feet. And he was like, "What did you shut it off for?" I go, "Had a cylinder out." He goes, "Well, how did you know that?" I go, "Well, I've probably made 1,500 runs in a car. It just didn't sound all that good. So I figured instead of blowing your stuff up, I'll just, step off the throttle." So he goes, "You look pretty good out there." He goes, "I don't think I want to drive anymore." So that's kind of how I started driving their car.
Well, there she is, Helen Russo herself chiming in. She said, "Good day from down under. Glad to have you on, Helen." And also, yeah, that her government, if they let her out along with Peter, you'd have more runs. El Jefe, it looks like. So what's behind that there, Mr. Arend?
So a bunch of people call me like El Jefe for fun, just kind of play on the Jeff thing. And, kind of the Helen and Peter, like, even though they own it all, I think I'm a little hard on them, but they like it. Sometimes maybe, but it's a pretty big deal. I mean, obviously Helen and Peter make a huge sacrifice, both financially and with their time and everything to come here and do this. And, and for me, I know they don't have 10 engines sitting there, so we don't want to blow stuff up. And, sometimes in the heat of the battle, when you're all working on the car, if things aren't going 100%, I might be like the El Jefe boss guy yelling at him or something. But for the most part, it's come over the last few years. It's come along really, really well. And, back when you're a little team, like you're always rushing to get to the staging lanes and stuff. And I think we got it pretty organized now. And we start the car up the night before, make sure everything's okay. And we're one of the first ones in the lanes all the time, and kind of all volunteer kind of a crew. And they're really good. I mean, they can turn that car around. And I think the last 3 races that we went to of the year last year, we qualified at 2 of them, and I think we qualified Pomona with 1 run or something like 411, or actually went 407 or 409 and went 411 in Dallas. So it's a good running car, and some other teams come over and they go, "I don't know how you can do that, with this whole team that we have. It's just come out a few times a year and actually qualify, and don't luck in there and run like a 450 to qualify, but run like a 410 or better." And it's pretty impressive. And my hat's off to Peter and Helen. They're so much fun they have here, and this is like, I guess when people gamble, they have some extra money to spend, and they love to race, and they have tons of friends, and they've made a bunch of friends here in California. Some of my friends come out and hang around, and it's just a real fun experience going with them.
Right. I didn't have the other round for whatever reason, but I had to use the footage of a shutoff. But y'all made that show solidly there in Pomona. It wasn't just by the hair of your chinny chin chin. It was solidly in. I think that was the run where you needed windshield wipers because nitro was spraying all over you. But right. I mean, they show up. And they are a force to reckon with. You cannot take them lightly. You can't take you lightly. I mean, man, looking over your career, your bio, and like your first win, I mean, you left on everybody. Like, I don't think Jeff Arend gets enough credit how good his lights are and have been. You seem to be a light cutter. So what's your philosophy of putting the car in the beams and, going on yellow?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is kind of ingrained into you. So, you can practice on a practice tree, obviously. But, you're kind of your hand-eye coordination, probably playing a lot of video games when I was young, helped out. And, a big thing that Frank Hawley talks about is blocking out those distractions. And definitely when you first start, like in a nitro car, you can't red light on one. I mean, I drove an alcohol car before. You can definitely you can see yellow and red light, no problem. But a nitro car, it's impossible to red. If you red light in it, either you staged with the back wheels or you just guessed, and you didn't really mean to guess, but your foot went down at the wrong time, let's say. So, the important thing is, how you stage the car. And when you're in qualifying, you want to stage as shallow as you can to get the best ET. Every inch you roll in takes 100th off it. So let's say, you ran a 410, it really would have been a 409 or maybe a 408, depending how far you went in. On race day, a lot of teams want you to be in as thin as you can. Top fuel guys are a little bit more gentlemanly about it. Funny car guys rolling a little bit, but I always thought I tried to be, fairly shallow. So it was a combination of a good ET and a good reaction time.
So you mentioned Frank Hawley. You've helped there at that school, and yeah, I definitely in a few moments I want to get to Paul Smith's driving school that was on that side of the car for your national event with, and I can't imagine Paul and instructing. I've got to hear about that. But you watched the rest of the Competition Plus Power Hour after you got off from the Pit Insider side of things. My boy Sam got owned by Frank. Dude, did you see that?
I was laughing because, Frank's Canadian, so am I. And, he Sam was trying to tell him something that Frank knew wasn't true. And he was like, what makes you think that? And I've kind of got that smart ass, stuff to me too, if I can. But I was laughing, I go, Sam's digging himself deeper and deeper here.
Dude, I was like, how can I save the boy? And he bit right back into it. He was like the dog that caught the car. I'm like, dude, you need to let go. So that's a highlight reel for Competition Plus Power Hour for years to come for sure. I was like, man, he got walloped on that one. So that was a lot of fun. It was. I enjoyed it. I don't know about Sam. So.
Yeah, I don't know about Sam either, but I was laughing.
Yes, you're right. So look, when you won at the Keystone Nationals in Paul Smith's ride, left on everyone that day, beat Tony Pedregon in the final, if I'm not mistaken, over a force car. Mm-hmm. So on the side of the car is Paul Smith's driving school or instructor school, however it was worded on that blue purple Oldsmobile. Was it an Oldsmobile that day? Yep. Okay, yeah, right. So yeah, man, Paul Smith as an instructor, you got to have some stories from that time because you mentioned you were at the school. I think you mentioned in your bio you even helped out. Like, I just can't see it. You got to tell me, man.
So Paul Smith, obviously very smart guy, one of the most underrated crew chiefs out there. I mean, he can make a car go down a dirt road if he wants to. If they ever had a rule that said, hey, you can't have a computer or data recorder in the car anymore, he wouldn't be lost. Everybody else would be. But Paul's just different. I mean, I had quite a bit of driving experience before I went to his school, and I'd sold my car. I had that Fiat Topolino that I had, and I'd sold that and went through a bunch of things in life, and I just kind of wanted to get my license in a nitro funny car. Kind of was like a dream deal, and I was working with Al Billis in the IHRA, and I ran into Paul a couple times and kind of worked out a deal to try and license in his funny car. So I remember going down there and meeting him, and he'd seen my video of me driving my Fiat and stuff and thought it was cool. So I remember he hopped in the car and we started up out in the parking lot, and he's just like for a warm up and stuff, and he's going to hit the throttle and everything. And, dumbass me, no headphones, no mask or nothing. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I mean, you just couldn't imagine the excitement on it, and then we, after that, he goes, hey, you did good warming it up. Let's go over to Showtime or whatever it was called. It was like some strip joint around the corner, right? And I go, you go here often? He goes, oh, no, not often at all. We walked up and the door of my hand's there. Paul, what's going on, buddy? And so we had a good time over there and got up first thing in the morning and drove over to West Palm Beach. And I remember, we're waiting for the ambulance to get there or something. And I was getting all suited up. And he puts his arm around me and walks me up to the Christmas tree and then turns me around. He goes, you see that car back there? I said, yep. He goes, that's not your car. He goes, if you crash it or F it up or anything, he goes, you don't have to buy me a new one. You just got to fix it to make it look the same as it is now. And I went, all right. He goes, all right, get in. Let's go. And that was Paul Smith's driving school.
Wow. Yeah, there's not a lot of psychology there as compared to Frank's, definitely.
No, but I mean, Paul's instructed a lot of people. And obviously, I'm making a little bit of light of it, but a very smart guy. And he knows what he's doing. And he can tell if someone can drive or not, and he can give them some tips. And he drove himself. He did really well. I think he almost won the championship one year. I think he was like second or something in the world. So he's definitely got a lot of stories. But definitely him and Frank are cut from a little different cloth. Let's just say that.
Right. He knows his stuff, and he was driving even a bit older. I remember he won a IHRA top fuel race, I think Darlington or Rockingham. He was an older guy even then and was getting it done. So he can drive, he can tune. He definitely can get it done. If I can ever get him, Mikey, and Bodie on the same camera in the same room, I think that would be gold.
That would be awesome.
Yes, it would be for sure. So, Jeff, a lot of folks are chiming in wondering this. Any difference on the Nostalgia Funny Car and the Big Show Funny Car? Now, sure, speed. I know that. That's a given. So clue us in on what may be different that we wouldn't expect. Can you feel the difference in downforce, or is it the way things are laid out? Shifting maybe in the Nostalgia cars?
Yeah, so I mean, if you drove, it's two ways to look at it, I guess. I drove a Big Show car before I ever drove a Nostalgia car, so obviously the Nostalgia car is not as quick. That's for sure. So not that a Nostalgia car is easy to drive because they don't really have much wing on them, and when you rev it up in low gear before you shift it, it like tries to spin a bit, and it doesn't have enough power to blow the tires off like in a Big Show car, but it has enough to start getting a little loose, and with no downforce, it wouldn't take a whole bunch to crash it. I probably got closer to crashing a Nostalgia car more than a Big Show car. Not that I was close to crashing it, but they just feel loose. They're just different to drive. They rev higher and everything. But to me, they're enjoyable to drive. They're not as crazy as driving a Big Show car is. You're not going nearly as fast, even though you want to get in an accident going over 250, it wouldn't be much fun, but it's just a whole different experience. And I'll tell people that. I've talked to a few people like, John Hill when he was working his way up before he went to Dunn's, or like Jason Rupert's the most, recent one. So he had, obviously been one of the fastest running Nostalgia cars, and he hopped in this Big Show car. And I don't think he made it much more than 300 feet. And it was, not that it was fast for him, but it was, slow in comparative day standards. If you look at times that people are running at the track right now to the 330, and he goes, "Oh my God, I could barely see. It was crazy." And that's really what it is. Like, you step on a Nostalgia car and it kind of puts you in the seat for maybe, I don't know, like a second. And then it kind of flattens out a little bit and you shift it in a high gear and it just kind of drives down the track. The Big Show car, you step on it and it takes off like a little harder than a Nostalgia car, and then it starts pulling. And the G-force is definitely higher, like 500-600 feet than it is leaving the starting line. So that's something you can't be used to. And, a Nostalgia car, you can kind of drive it all over the track and it's not going to smoke the tires or anything. The Big Show car, if you get it out of the groove like a tire width, it's probably going to smoke the tires. And the other thing with Nostalgia cars, you can steer it. So once you get past, 100 feet, you could drive it wherever you want. You turn the wheel, it's going to turn. The Big Show stuff from like 100 feet to 600 feet is where there are really the big differences in acceleration. And you may turn the wheel and it might just laugh at you and just drive over there because there's no weight on the front end. So, one of the easiest ways to look at it is the 60-foot times aren't like a bunch different, like maybe a tenth of a second, but like a really badass Nostalgia Funny car will run 260 miles an hour in 1,320 feet. And like a real badass, Big Show car will run like 280 mile an hour in 660 feet. So that really gives you a good idea in the difference between the acceleration of the two cars.
So Scott, he wants to know, did you ever drive for Force at any time? You've been in a lot of cars, a lot of teams. Ever step into a Force ride?
Nope, never drove for John Force. I'm pretty good friends with Robert, but the opportunity never came up there. But I filled in for a bunch of other people over the years. I think back, I drove for Paul first, and then Chuck Beal, who was a big California racer out here. Hoffman, obviously. Then I drove back again for Paul again. Drove for Dell for a year. Drove for Jim Head. Drove for Alexis DeJoria. Drove for Colettas, obviously. Drove for Steve Pluger. Drove for Hellman Peter Russo. So I'm not thinking there's too many people that have driven as many different cars and different chassis and different setups than I have, and especially in the last 20 years or something.
Definitely. I mean, you're a ringer out there for sure. You definitely are. Now, you mentioned in like the 90s and Hoffman, different combination, okay? And you said, like now, modern day, a lot of people, at least on that, the clutch dust, they figured out how to make it a lot more easier for the driver to, not have to go to the dry cleaner every weekend. But are the combinations that different now in the nitro ranks, maybe compared to what it was 20 years ago? Because when I look like car to car, it looks very similar. It seems like most people are actually running like you're either running an AJPE or Don Schumacher. There might be some Keith stuff out there. Very rarely, it seems like. So has everybody kind of got the formula whittled down and similar across the pits, or do you still find some awkward combinations out there?
I mean, there's a few, but few and far between. Like, a Hellman Peter, a combination would be kind of a weird one because it's an Australian built chassis, not a slip tube car, and just a bunch of things that are different on it. But you look at the, all the top 10 guys for sure, they got like a Murph chassis or a DSR chassis. I mean, it's one of 2 or 3 chassis. Coletta's built them in-house too, and all the cars are built pretty close to the same. They all steer properly now. I mean, everybody's figured out all the ways to make them better, both by aero and by steering, so they're easier to drive. There was a time where I think I was driving for Paul, and we had this older car, and it was all I could do to drive it down the track. And it was like going all over the place, and it was pretty tough. And then we bought a brand new Murph McKinney slip tube car, which everybody else was running. And we ran out here in Pomona, and the first run, it went like 479, which was my career best. And it was like I barely even turned the wheel. It was like, thing is easy to drive. So now I think there's not so much of that old chassis stuff anymore. Everybody's got, a hand-me-down someone's car, but they're good cars, and the aero's figured out, and the things steer properly. And there was a lot of work done on the steering and the aero and everything to make them drive better the way they do now.
All right. Chris, he wants to know, who you rooting for in Super Bowl 55?
I'm not. I watch football. I don't know. Like they're both amazing quarterbacks. So I think it's just going to be a great game. Let's leave it at that.
All right. We're going to leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great game. It may very well be a passing of the torch type moment for NFL football. We will see. We will see. Now, looking over your bio that you sent to me, another element that stood out to me, that you had a period in which you had to relicense, and I didn't realize that the license could expire. So talk to me, how long does it last, and what do you have to, is it the same requirements to get relicensed, or is it less of a run? What does it look like?
So, I mean, back in the, the 90s and early 2000s, they were like super strict about stuff. So, you're really supposed to run every year. But if you missed a year and you ran the next year, you were still probably good. I know guys now that they show me their license and they've got, Big Show funny car license on there, and they haven't driven a car in 6 or 7 years. So I don't think that's right. I think you should have to relicense after a couple of years. Back when I did it was kind of a, what would you call it? Some people thought it was fair and some people thought it wasn't fair, but there was a little deal in the rule book that said if you run within 10% of the national record, you can relicense at the national event, like not on the Monday, but during the race. And that's what we did. And we basically should have got in, but I had one run, I had to shut it off, and then it rained. And long story short, we were missing one run that was over, like, I think back then, 270 or 280 miles an hour, whatever you had to run. So we didn't have qualifying for that Vegas race, but we made up for it the next race. But licenses, generally speaking, for a pro car, 2 years max. But I've definitely seen people that have licenses that say they have that, but I'd be pretty surprised if they were able to run at a national event without everybody else saying something.
So as it stands, Jeff, are you still the fastest Canadian?
In funny car for sure. Yeah.
Okay. In funny car.
I think you have your charger. I think for sure Todd Payton has gone quicker in a top fuel car, obviously.
All right.
They're a lot faster. Right. But yeah, definitely I was the first Canadian to go over 300 miles an hour. I know that. And I think I still hold the record for the fastest Corvette at like 321 or 322 or something. But I think Todd took over the quickest Canadian.
So over your career, it's, you've got like the mentioning of street racing there in Toronto and some bracket racing and then funny car. Any top fuel? Have you been in the rail at all?
So I've driven when I worked for Frank Hawley. I drove their alcohol dragster and gave that a try. And then as far as top fuel stuff goes, I was when I was working for Coletta's, I remember the very first race we went to, Indy, we ended up not qualifying. So Connie said, "Hey, you've driven a top fuel car before?" And I go, "What happened to Grubnick?" And he goes, "Well, he has to go home or whatever, right?" I'm like, whatever. I go, I guess I could try. So I sat in his car and I needed like 2 telephone books to sit on to see over it. But long story short, I think we made like 3 runs in it the next day. No full runs. I think the furthest I went was like 300 or 400 feet. But we made like 6 or 7 in the funny car. So I made like 10 runs in one day. I would make a run in the funny car, get out. They'd whip me back on the scooter with my helmet and everything on, and I'd hop in the top fuel car and give that a shot. And it was just, I remember remembering it was really different. Like when you're backing up, you could see like a zoos faster around the track. So there's really no reason for someone to be in front of you because you can see exactly what you're doing. The other thing that was different was that the noise, it's really, really quiet. And then when you floor it, it kind of looks like you're playing a video game. Like the front end goes kind of up in the air, goes like this in front of you. And it's kind of, moving all over the place. And it's different. I would like to make some more runs in it, but definitely had a good time.
All right, so Jeff, look, I got to wrap up between the slicks here, but my last question for you, because you've done it on both sides, crewman and driver. What makes you most tired at the end of a national event? Is it being the crew guy, or is it being the driver, or is it, hey, you're both tired, it just feels different at the end of the day?
I think, I've worked on some teams where I was just a driver, and that was it. And that can get a little tiny bit boring because you don't really do much other than maybe sometimes you mix the fuel, but fill your air bottle up, pack your parachutes, whatever. And I've worked for some teams where I put the clutch on the car, like Helen and Peter. Like for the most part, I kind of set their clutch up for them, and they take it in and out. But I pulled it back in there again to set it up and do some more work on the car. So kind of hard to say. You're pretty tired at the end of the day anyway. So and one thing's for sure, no matter how the day goes, there's like some cold Coors Light in the cooler for sure. So that's in my contract. Anybody I drive for, they have to have that.
Right. You even got it. I love it. People can't see it before you come on Competition Plus Power Hour, but we're taking you away from your bonfire, cigar, and Coors Light, and he comes on Power Hour. So thank you, man, for taking yourself away from those festivities to come on Power Hour. Hey, thank you, Jeff, for coming on Between the Slicks. I enjoyed it. We'll have to have you again. There's a lot more that I didn't get to that folks definitely need to know about Jeff Arend. Man, thank you.
Hey, no problem, Lee. Thank you. Have a great night.
Appreciate it. Folks, Jeff Arend, look, go do some research. Check out his career. Very interesting career and what he has come up and what he's done. And, yeah, you can still see him out at the track. Be sure to go by, say hello to Jeff. Have some hand sanitizer. Let's be safe. Let's be safe now. Jeff, again, thank you for coming on. Folks, thank you for watching. Spread the word for me, please, about Between the Slicks. Monday Morning Racer on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Next week, the plan is Kyle Wurtzel of NHRA Top Fuel. Interesting year last year. He was in Indy 1 and had a massive blow up in qualifying, if I remember correctly, right at the line. And then at his last showing in St. Louis, he runs a career best ET, best pass he's ever made. So from blow up on the line to best pass of career in a short time frame in a COVID-19 year, as crazy as it was, we're definitely going to talk to Kyle and hear that story. Also, he works a very interesting job for a guy who drives a top fuel dragster. And again, the Sega Superstock champion will be on as well. Love talking to those Sega guys. Well, folks, look, parachutes are out. We've got Amanda Busick coming up. Well, not actually, but if we had won, we would have Amanda Busick coming up. Between the Slicks is done. Good night to all of you. God bless and keep